Hey, how are you doing? This is Brian James Shanley, and I'm welcoming you to Brian James Shanley Raw on this Wednesday, January the 29th, 2020. For those of you who've never tuned in before, Brian James Shanley Raw is that playlist on my YouTube channel that deals with the issues of our day without compromise from a Western/Christian perspective, whether it be issues of theology, philosophy, political science, current events, economics, ethics, art, and I'm all over the board, and I try to speak the truth about the things that perhaps the more mainstream media are slanting, if you will, and I try to correct the record from the facts, the evidence, and the scriptures. I'm going to deviate from my normal subject matter. Like I said, as it stands right now, it is Wednesday, January the 29th. And literally 3 days ago, NBA basketball player Kobe Bryant of the Los Angeles Lakers passed away at the age of 41, unexpectedly, untimely, in a horrible accident. And the mainstream media and publications are covering it ad infinitum, ad nauseum, and they're putting out new details every hour. There's nothing that I can add to that discussion that hasn't already been said or will be said, and so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you something fresh that's not going to be discussed, and that is my own personal Kobe Bryant story. You see, I had occasion to meet him once, and it was in passing, and it was very brief, and I'm sure it meant infinitely more to me than it ever did to him. I'm sure the memory stayed with me infinitely longer than it did with him. But from the perspective of one side of that meeting, I'm going to tell you the story. And I think some of you will get a kick out of it, some of you won't, but oh well. I just want to put it out there in his memory. The date will live on in my mind forever. It always has. March the 12th, 2004. At this time, several things were going on. Number one, up here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, United States of America, our NBA basketball team was the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that year, Kevin Garnett had such people as Wally Szczerbiak, Latrell Sprewell, and Sam Cassell, among others, to make this dynamic, ridiculous, wonderful Timberwolves team that people who live up here still talk about to this day. They had a great regular season. And even though the Lakers at that time were a legendary dynasty caliber franchise, for some reason, every time we played them, or the majority of the time we played them in that 2003-2004 year, we had their number. At least up until the Western Conference Finals when it mattered, right? That's how Minnesota sports are. We get to the big game and crap the bed. It's like someone has a Minnesota voodoo doll and they're just, whatever. So we always wait till the big game to finally, go to hell in a handbasket. And we do it very well, actually. So that happened that year, too. And the Lakers were unstoppable, at least as it relates to the finals. However, during the season, we could take them. And March the season was, still going on. And the Lakers had come to town. At that time, I was 27 years old. And I was working in a downtown Minneapolis at a telecommunications company that doesn't exist anymore. And we got paid every 2 weeks. And that was payday Friday. It was a day that I took off. Normal people would have gotten a direct deposit, but young 27-year-old Brian Shanley didn't trust the banks. I know I know that's hard to believe, but you have to take my word. So I had the hard paper check issued to me, which means I had to go downtown Minneapolis and get my paper and then go to Wells Fargo and cash it and have $2,500 in $100 bills in my left pocket downtown Minneapolis. I thought I was bulletproof. I thought I was gangster and whatever. So I got my daughter with me. I'm a single father at this time, raising her alone. She's 6. Her name's Gabrielle. And she's with me. It's a day off, whatever. We're having a good time. showing her the downtown, the IDS building. Minneapolis, we're not one of the top 50 markets, which means that when the celebrities come through here, there's literally one or two luxurious hotels that they stay at. Whether it's a concert coming through town where there's a famous entertainer, or when there's a movie being shot here, or when the World Wrestling Federation or whatever comes here, or when a visiting team is coming in one of the major sports and they have to be put up somewhere. Those hotels are downtown Minneapolis. So during a business day when there's a big pending game happening, it's not uncommon to run into celebrities just while you're walking around doing your normal thing. And that day the Lakers were in town. And I'm sitting there wearing a Timberwolves shirt, right? I'm going through a store called Marshall Field's. Marshall Field's doesn't exist anymore, at least in Minneapolis. But back then it did. And I had to cut through it to get where I was trying to go. I see this itty-bitty little baby, all right? It's a little girl, and she is a toddler. So she's struggling to stand up. She's taking a few steps or whatever, and she's by the shoes. My daughter, who's 6, who loves babies, goes over to this baby and says, "Oh, you're so cute. What's your name?" And she's touching her cheek and stuff. A very cute moment. At least I could appreciate it for a second, but my mind was like, where the hell are the parents? Why is this itty-bitty little toddler struggling to walk over here? And I can't find the parents. I'm looking around, then I look up, and there's this very tall figure. It's Kobe Bryant. That's his little girl, Natalia, I believe her name was. And he's just walking around downtown Minneapolis. No security, nothing, just walking around shopping. And I'm sitting there staring at him because I had seen Kobe Bryant on television. And of course, with the Lakers that year, he's always with Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaquille O'Neal's like, what, 7'5"? So next to a 7'5" dude, Kobe Bryant doesn't look that big. So in my mind, I'm always like, oh, you know, he's not the tallest guy in the world. Dude's like 6'9" or something. I'm 5'7", so everybody's taller than me. I may not be tall, but at least I'm fat, right? So Kobe Bryant's tall. And I'm looking at him, and he's got this look on his face. He's smiling at me. He's, you know, but he's also got to look like, please don't draw attention. Please, please. I don't want to be bum rushed. Then I'm looking around. His wife is walking like 20 feet in front of him. Very beautiful Hispanic-looking lady. But she's huffing and she's puffing. Like, come on. You know what I mean? You got to understand, 2004 was a controversial time for the Bryant family. For reasons that, keywords are not guilty. That's the verdict. So that should not even be coming up in discussions. And people who want to bring that up in discussions, no one's been dumb enough to do it in front of me yet. But if they do, they're going to hear some words that they can't unhear to put them back in check. So anyways, but they were still you know, recovering from that time period. And so there was a definite hostility between the two. Yeah, Kobe's staring at me like, oh, please don't draw attention, please. So he scoops up his little girl, and he's looking at me like, okay, what do you want? Do you want a picture? Do you want an autograph? The first words out of my mouth were, okay, Gabriel, let's let these people shop. And he smiled at me and nodded his head and walked away. So he didn't say a word to me, but he didn't have to. He was cut from a very classy fabric. I'm a South Minneapolis boy, and if I sit down with someone long enough, I can usually tell what kind of person I'm dealing with, especially if I listen to them talk. But if they're quiet, then you got to look for such, you know, little clues in behavior and stuff. And I was able to pick up very good things about this individual. And I was, you know, I was impressed. And I'm sitting there wearing a Timberwolves shirt, mind you. So he knows that I'm cheering for the other team. But, you know, good sport. He doesn't care. But very brief passing moment. It lives on as a memory to me. Obviously, it was buried in the back of my mind, but it comes to the front now during something like this. He was at a Roman Catholic service that Sunday morning. He was a practicing Roman Catholic. I'm not going to make any speculations as to whether or not he's in one place or another right now. That's not the purpose here. But hopefully he believed in the 5 solas instead of the 5 sacraments. If so, I can't wait to see him at Messiah's feet. Jesus Christ has currently went away to build me a mansion. And one day when I go up there and take it, if Kobe's up there, he's invited to hang out anytime he would like. I will see him at Messiah's feet if he's there, and we'll be taking off our crowns and throwing them at Messiah's feet. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. Great man. And like I said, that year the Lakers went on to beat the Timberwolves in the conference finals, but they ran into that Detroit Pistons, that Ben Wallace team. Do you remember that one? And they lost. So, and Kobe doesn't like to lose, you know what I mean? So he came back later with more fire and still was able to get some stuff done. But that's my Kobe Bryant story. I did meet him, and it was in passing, and it was an experience. My daughter remembers it. So my daughter's going to be 22 in a couple of months. So may God bless and keep you, and may God be magnified and glorified in the life of Kobe and of his precious other daughter that was born later, that passed away while in the same accident. And there were 9 people in this accident. I don't know anything about the other people, but if they were in a helicopter with Kobe en route to one of Kobe's basketball charity events or what have you, then the people with him probably were all about helping children, which means they were all right with me. May the one true and living God of Scripture bless and keep you and your families and the United States of America until I have the privilege of coming to you again. Thank you for listening to this memory.